GameRanks presents the top 10 new mystery games of 2015. Yeah, we decided to think a little outside the box with this category, so let's get right into it, starting off with number 10. Homesick is a gorgeous indie PC game where you're dropped into an abandoned building and it's up to you to figure out who you are, what happened, and what happened to everybody else who was there. You explore this amazing and beautifully rendered abandoned building and solve puzzles and find clues to figure out what exactly happened. The thing is here is that there are slight horror elements as you're often plagued by really scary nightmares. Not only do you have to figure out what happened, you also have to figure out how to escape. The game, like I keep saying, looks absolutely amazing. It has a beautiful orchestral score, and solving the puzzles, figuring out the clues, and decoding all the texts will probably take you about 4 hours. It feels a little bit like one of those walking simulators, but the mystery solving here is pretty hands-on and you have to actually play quite a bit. It's $15 on Steam, it's got damn good atmosphere, and it's worth checking out. And at number 9, we have Pathologic Classic HD. This is the definitive HD version of the cult classic psychological game. This was a first-person survival horror cerebral game. In Pathologic, you play as one of 3 different characters and you try and save a mysterious town from an apparent oncoming plague that cannot be stopped. This is a really bleak game that has real-time based gameplay similar to Majora's Mask. You have 12 days to figure out how to stop this plague. As an outsider of the town, it's up to you to figure everything out and kind of discover the whole social structure of this weird, creepy town. There's things to read, characters to talk to, steal from, barter with, and get clues from. And the game tackles a lot of different subjects, from psychological horror to the meaning of life and death and morals and the gray areas in between. There's a lot of story here, a lot of dialogue, a lot of subplots, and there's a lot to just keep you busy and keep you figuring things out. And at number 8, we have Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. This PlayStation 4 exclusive places players in a small English countryside town where all the inhabitants have mysteriously disappeared. It's a first-person adventure developed by the Chinese Room, the makers of Dear Esther, if you played that on PC. But compared to Dear Esther, there's a lot more to figure out in Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. The environment you're placed in and the story is completely non-linear, so how you find things and figure them out and piece them together is all up to you. You could run to one side of the map and find one of the last clues, and then go back and piece everything together one by one. The game tells the story of the town's inhabitants through a series of ghostly apparitions. The town itself is oddly eerie considering it's missing all inhabitants and it looks like everybody just kind of got up and left. So it's up to you to find the clues and listen and figure out just why everybody got up and left this town. And at number 7, we have Kholat. This is more of a horror-themed first-person mystery that tells a real-life story of the Ural Mountains and the mysterious disappearance of 9 Russian miners in the Dyatlov Pass. The real-life true event of the Dyatlov Pass incident is full of different theories and hypotheses and mysteries, and the game really takes advantage of that and dumps you into the hostile world of the Ural Mountains. And as you're trying to figure everything out, you're also thinking, am I gonna ever figure this out? Am I ever gonna figure out if any of this is true? And am I even gonna survive this? All those things are going through your head as the game is narrated by the world-famous Sean Bean. Yes, Sean Bean. Does he die in this game? Spoilers, no. I mean, well, not really. He's just a narrator, but it is really awesome. At number 6, we have the game Nevermind. The game's subtitle is The Greatest Enemy is the One Inside Your Head, and that's totally true. The game gives you 3 different patients' heads to go inside and figure out what went wrong. It's up to you to unravel the mystery of each patient's buried trauma, and some of it is really creepy and messed up. Not only are you piecing together clues and figuring out what happened, you're also experiencing a bunch of fear, trauma, and tension yourself through the game's awesome and terrifying atmosphere. If you really want to step things up, you can use a biofeedback sensor that the game works with to take advantage of your fear. It senses your fear, capitalizes on it, and uses it to its advantage to freak you out even more. It's a bit brief because there's only 3 patients' mysteries to discover, but it's a very haunting game with some very unique stories, presented in some ways you might not have ever experienced before. And at number 5, we have Blues and Bullets. Blues and Bullets is a crime thriller in a noir style, and it sets out to tell alternate history tales with Elliot Ness and Al Capone. This is very much a detective game, a third-person game where you walk around, find clues, talk to people, and figure out what's going on. It's got an amazing black and white and red art style, and it's incredibly inspired and totally awesome. It's got interesting characters, an intriguing mystery, great visuals, and for classic noir fans, it might be right up your alley. It's almost like a darker and grittier LA Confidential, which means it might remind you a lot of LA Noire, and that's certainly not a bad thing. The cool thing here is that this is an episodic game, and the first episode is absolutely awesome. And And at number 4, we have Her Story, a very small indie game from one of the creators of Silent Hill: Shattered Memories. This game is really interesting and it's easy to play on PC or iOS. You're basically given complete control over a 90s police computer monitor, and it's up to you to figure out a murder. You have a bunch of files and notes to access, and a bunch of video files of a woman being interrogated by the police. It's up to you to watch all of the interview clips and piece together what exactly is going on and who did it. It's an awesome FMV game where you actually have to watch this woman and pay attention to what she's saying and read how she's saying it. So if you're a fan of that NPR podcast Serial, in which you listen and are presented the facts and try and figure out what exactly the deal is for yourself, this is basically the game version of that, and it's really awesome. The fact that it is so hands-off is completely refreshing because it means it's absolutely 100% up to you to figure out this mystery for yourself. So if you're dumb, it's going to be much more difficult. But that's what makes it really interesting and really unique, and why we're recommending Her Story. And at number 3, we have Until Dawn, the PlayStation 4 exclusive. You might have heard it by now, but Until Dawn is totally awesome. It's kind of like a Heavy Rain style game, but in the vein of the classic slasher horror movie vibe. And that's what gives it its mystery. It's very much a I Know What You Did Last Summer or a Scream, in which a bunch of teenagers are getting killed, and you have to figure out exactly who is doing it and why. Not only is that a mystery, but the events in the game are bookended by random sequences in which Peter Stormare gives you a bunch of creepy exposition. And you have to figure out exactly who he's talking to and what he's really talking about. The story, the presentation, the characters, and the awesome graphics, voice acting, and performance capture really make Until Dawn special and worth seeing through the end, and maybe even playing multiple times to get different story aspects. And at number 2, we have the episodic game Life is Strange. Life is Strange is very much a Telltale-inspired episodic point-and-click adventure game in which choice and consequence impact the story and are the most important element. You play as Max, a senior in high school who saves her old friend Chloe by discovering she can actually rewind time. This gameplay element soon develops and becomes more important as the pair soon find themselves exposed to the darker side of their location as they uncover the disturbing truth behind the sudden disappearance of a fellow student. You're tasked with not only trying to figure things out, but rewinding time and changing the course of events to do so. By affecting the past, present, and future, the game really changes and makes for some really interesting dynamics here. What starts as a game centered around a lot of teen drama and some superhero power nonsense really develops into a really interesting and engaging murder mystery. And at number 1, we have Soma. This PC, PS4, and Xbox One game was developed by Frictional Games, the makers of Amnesia. And while Soma is a horror game first and foremost, there's a lot of story here and a lot to figure out. Without spoiling things, events start out pretty routine, but then suddenly you discover that you're in an underwater research and power facility that is completely abandoned and seemingly in the near future. What happens after that is nothing more than an awesome descent into madness. And the game tackles a bunch of different themes involving technology, artificial intelligence, and humanity. There's a lot to like here and a lot to figure out, and it's almost like a darker, grittier, creepier, and smarter BioShock. The game's main story is a mystery to figure out in and of itself, but the game itself is riddled with audio logs, computer terminals with information, and emails to read to figure out all the details of what exactly happened at this abandoned place. And it's totally awesome, because not to mention the fact that while you're using your brain for all this stuff, the game is also incredibly terrifying. So guys, those were the top 10 new mystery games of 2015. There's a couple runners-up, including Submerged and the awesomely reviewed Contradiction. It's an interactive FMV murder mystery game that is definitely worth checking out. We've linked that as well below. But most importantly, guys, we want to know what mystery games you are playing. We know 2014 also had a bunch of mystery games, so let us know those as well. But which games are you enjoying most this year, solving and figuring out yourself? Let us know in the comments. And if you did have a good time and maybe learned about a new game or two, click the like button, because that helps us out the most. And subscribing if you're new is the best thing you can do because we put out videos like this every single day. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.